Hi, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for another PB&J card class. And in today's video, it is the second in a series of 4 videos featuring Penny Black's creative die set called Happy Snowy. And as you can see here, I've made 4 cards featuring this adorable snowman creative die set. This snowman has just won its way into my heart, so I've had a lot of fun making some cards with him. And today we will be making the card here that you see over on the right hand side of the screen. And I'll give you another closer look at this guy again. Just another variation and a different way that you can use him. He is ready to do some sledding, and I feel like that sentiment, the happiest season of all, is a perfect fit for his happy little face. So before we begin, I just wanted to mention I will have a full supply list of everything that I'm using in today's video up on screen at the very end of the video. So if you want to check it out then, you can just hit pause and look at everything in more detail. So here's a look at that Happy Snowy creative die set. You get the snowman shape, of course, the hat, the bow, a little bird, his nose, and then also a fun little sign that you can use to hang around his neck. I am combining him today with a couple of our other creative dies that are a really great match with him. The first here is the sled and skis, so I'll be using the sled today with him. And then the other is the winter wardrobe. So I am going to use the little scarf that comes with this die set with the snowman today. So to begin, I've die cut all of my pieces from Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I am going to be using the Wendy Vecchi Make Art Station to make it really easy to paint these tiny little pieces. So this is a magnetic board. It can do tons of different things. I'm going to put a link to a video of Wendy actually talking about all of the different things you can do with it, but I find it super handy for painting these creative dies. I just stick them to some painter's tape. You can see even the tiniest little pieces, like his little nose there. And then I use the magnets to hold them in place while I paint. I do put just a piece of scratch paper underneath, and then that ruler that you see at the bottom is also magnetic, so that can hold that scratch paper in place while I go. I'm going to be painting these using Distress Ink reinkers used as watercolors. So I am just grabbing the colors that I want to use here, and then I'll just squeeze them onto that ink palette and then paint them, blending those in with some water. So these are very strong colors. That's one reason I really like to use these to paint. And so they work really well. If you like bold colors, they don't dry a lot lighter than what you put them on, so you have a pretty good idea of what you're getting right away when you're painting. But you could also color these dies with your markers. You could do them with your regular watercolor paints, whatever you like to color things with, or you could cut them from colored cardstock. So I'm just going to go ahead and start painting these in. Now, one reason that I like to actually cut everything from white and then paint them in is I often don't know which way I'm going to go with the design when I first start. So I don't know what color cardstocks to pick out. So I find it's just easier to cut everything from white and then sort of let the design flow as I go. I also when I get a new set of dies, we'll often cut several from white cardstock, like a smooth cardstock, and watercolor paper. And then I just store them in an envelope with the dies so I can get them out whenever an idea comes to mind and they're already die cut and ready to be painted and ready to go. So I'm mixing just a couple of reds onto this sled just for some variation in color and to give it sort of a weathered look. Now all of the exact colors that I'm using will be listed up on screen in that supply list at the very end of the video. And I'm just getting some other colors here over onto my palette off screen here. And I will paint in the hat. Now that comes with the Happy Snowy set. And then this little scarf, that's actually from the Winter Wardrobe Creative Die set. So it's fun how you can mix and match the snowman with lots of different dies that you may already have in your stash. I think he'd be really cute holding a wreath, holding up a little sentiment banner in his hands. There's just so many different ways that you can do him. Now I'm just playing around with the colors here as I paint. I often start light and then go back in and darken things up. It's easier for me to start light and go darker, but once you go dark, you're kind of stuck with that. So I just play it safe and start light and then add in some shading. I'm not looking for everything to be perfectly smooth and blended. I want this to have a watercolor look to it. I think that gives the entire card just sort of an artsy design, as does the thickness of the watercolor paper. It just adds a little something extra to your creative die cuts. You can see I'm mixing in a little bit of blue in with the green to get some turquoise. And just by using a couple of colors from the same sort of color family, it just gives it more interest once it is dry and the entire design is complete. And I love to paint, so I just keep fiddling around and adding more color and playing around as I go. Now I'm just going ahead and dry these, and you can see using this Wendy Vecchi station, you can just get your heat tool out and dry those, and they aren't blowing all over the place. You notice even the little nose that's off to the left didn't go anywhere when I was drying those. So now I'm just painting that up, and then I'll go ahead and I'm just going to add some very light shading to the snowman's face. Now you'll see that his eyes and his mouth, those die cut like that, and then you can see him really well. But just to give him a painted look to match all of the other accessories that we're doing here, just putting a little tiniest touch of weathered wood Distress Ink Reinker on, and then going in with just water and lifting most of it up. But you can see it just accentuates the eyes and the mouth a little bit more. And then I'll also add just a little bit of that down here on the body. Now, in retrospect, looking back, I really didn't need to add that shading down there because with the finished design and the scarf on there, you don't end up seeing much of it. But if you were doing this where you saw the whole snowman's body, you can see where you can add just a little extra shading to that body to add to that roundness and the fullness. And I'm just getting another color here off screen just to add a touch of blush to the cheeks. And I know the snowman looks so funny without the hat and without the nose, but once those go on there, he really looks extra cute. So I'm ready to go ahead and kind of put him together. Just using liquid glue to adhere these pieces together. You can see here just sort of playing around with that. Then I will use some liquid glue to go ahead and put the hat on. And now that's when everything just comes together and he looks so, so cute. Now this is a scarf that comes from the other die set, and I'm just going to sort of slide that around him. And if you saw the first video I made with the snowman, you can see how much different he looks just by using the scarf in place of the little sign that comes with him. And then I also want him to be holding up his sled, ready to do some sledding, so I couldn't wait just to take a look at that there. Now with this station, you can also add the magnets right on top to sort of help things dry and not wiggle around as you saw me do there. Now I am using our Stitch Circles die. This is a fabulous die. The stitching line is actually on the outside of the cut line, so you can cut these beautiful frames, which is what I am using here. And I'm just putting a little mark underneath where that frame will go so I know where to paint the background. And again, I can hold all my paper in place here using that station tool. And I'm just going to add some color to the background. Now, when I did this, I actually went darker than I wanted to. So you can see I'm going back in with just what I would call a thirsty brush. So a brush that is fairly dry or just damp and kind of pulling up some of the color. And then I wanted to put a little bit more of the green in so it tied into the scarf and the hat. And I'll just keep playing around here with getting the right amount of color and the right shades of the colors. But I didn't want the hat to blend in too much to the background. So you can see here I'm going in with that thirsty brush again and sort of lifting up some of that color. And even using a paper towel to lighten it up a little bit. So you can see watercolor is pretty forgiving. Now I can see where that hat and the scarf really do show up more. But I keep fiddling. And so I'm adding just a little bit more paint down here at the bottom. Now the sentiment for this card comes from our transparent set. This is a new set called Thrill of Hope. There's a lot of really great sentiments in here that work with a lot of different styles of designs. And I think this is a perfect match for the snowman, the happiest season of all. I'm stamping this using Acorn Archival ink. I love this ink for sentiments. It's nice and dark, but not quite as stark as the black. So I put foam tape on the back of that piece that was cut using our Stitch Circles frame. Some foam tape on the snowman, popping him out right there from the circle. And then I will go ahead and adhere this sled down. And then once I get that all done, I did add just a few sequins to add a touch of sparkle and a little bit of movement from the left-hand corner down across to the right-hand side of the card. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, as well as Twitter and our website and blog. And I will link all of those for you down in the YouTube description box below. And stay tuned here on our YouTube channel because I will have 2 more cards featuring this Happy Snowy creative die set. And if you stay tuned here at the very end of the video, as promised, that supply list will pop up and you can hit pause if you want to look at any of the items used in more detail. Thanks for watching.